Whelan Presley Funeral Home and Crematory, a proud supporter of WQPT, has been serving Quad City families since 1889. They now have live stream capabilities for viewing your loved one's funeral or memorial service.
At IHM VCU, we've always been here for you. You are and always will be our top priority. We care about your financial and physical health, and we are here. IHM VCU is a proud supporter of WQPT.
A new school year looms at Western. What's going to happen at the Riverfront campus in Moline now and in the future in the cities? Welcome to Western Illinois University in the Quad Cities. And this will be Dr. Guiyu Huang's first full year as president of Western Illinois University, and he'll preside over a university trying to emerge from the COVID pandemic, as well as the lasting impacts of 2 years of Illinois budget impasses that badly hurt the university, as well as its recruiting. We talked with Dr. Huang about today and tomorrow at Western. What are you expecting from the 2021-2022 school year? It's going to be so much different than the year before and the year before that.
I expect a lot. First of all, more students, more faculty and staff on campus, more vibrancy, so to speak, right? That's important. And then the human interaction will be more visible that we missed for the last 18, 19 months, right? I do expect to see a higher morale on campus, both campuses, Quad Cities and the Macomb campus. I think being together is important, even though we are going to keep social distancing while being together, to be thoughtful about each other's health and safety.
Do you see it as education should be in person?
It's an interesting question. I taught philosophy. On one side, I think hybrid education is an important future for education, right? Now we are doing, two modalities, fully online, and three modalities, fully online, fully in person, and a hybrid. They are all viable, though I do think for traditional age students, in-person education, the hands-on part is very important. Social interaction is important, especially when the students are away from home, from their parents, from their familiar environment. Being on campus, living together, taking classes together, talking to a professor, that is invaluable. Nobody should take that away from them.
Plus laboratory time and all the other stuff.
Oh yeah, there you have art program, art classes, studio work, all of those. Again, they have to be in person. They have to be real.
But you take a look at the genesis of the Quad City campus, where dorms weren't expected.
Correct.
It was supposed to be for the non-traditional student in a lot of different ways, or the student that didn't want to go to Macomb to travel the distance away from home here in the Quad Cities. Is that kind of the way that you almost have to rethink when you're talking about remote learning? Is that for a non-traditional student, or for a student who doesn't necessarily want to have that campus experience, that this is yet, like you said, a third option?
I think the Quad City campus is really versatile. In other words, we can accommodate students who want to attend classes in person, and then those who do it remotely, and those in between. I was seeing modalities used in different campuses, one way or the other. For the non-traditional, older students, remote is fantastic because more flexibility, right? Because many of those students have families or a job or a profession to take care of, right? So they need that flexibility. And those students also often are very disciplined. They know what they want, they know what they need. They make themselves do the necessary work to be successful as a student. So I think Quad Cities campus represents a significant future for higher education. Biomodality, single modality, and or a combination of both.
You kind of look at the last 4 years for Western Illinois, as well as all of the Illinois system campuses, when you had the 2-year budget stalemate, devastated public education in the state of Illinois. Then you have a year and a half of a pandemic.
Right.
Light at the end of the tunnel, and you're just hoping it's not, as they say, an oncoming train. I mean, are you looking at it that way right now? Is that the worst of times is now behind us for Western?
I truly hope so, because now I like to tell people all bad things will have to come to an end at a point. Hopefully some good things too. You may like it, but then they come to an end. So everything will come to an end in that regard. Certainly a pandemic like this. Well, this one though is a larger scale than anything that we have known. I just was talking to you about the Decameron and the Canterbury Tales, where Black Death, pandemic are described. Thing I was teaching in books, in a classroom, we are living it. We are living it, breathing it. So the challenges are real, right? The challenges are real. When everybody is vaccinated, when have a decent control over the pandemic, then we'll be back to some sort of normalcy. And it's up to how to define normalcy. Right? I do think that people are a little less fearful of what was the unknown, because the pandemic to us is better known than it was, say, a year ago or 18 months ago. So better known, that's knowledge. Francis Bacon likes to say, knowledge is power. We are more powerful than we were a year ago or 18 months ago. I'm hopeful that we will be able to return in person, at least on a larger scale, and people will feel a little more safer than before. But again, it really depends on how the variants, especially Delta, will evolve in the next few weeks or next few months.
As you said, knowledge is power.
Yeah.
And you've been in this area now for less than 6 months.
7 months.
Okay, so you got 7 months of knowledge.
That's right.
Now you have that power.
Yeah.
You stood back to learn what's going on, the campus, the traditions and all that. Mm-hmm. How do you hope to use that in the coming year? Because this is going to be your first full year at Western.
Yeah.
You're doing it with your eyes wider open than as you said, 7 months ago.
Yeah, right. No, so but 7 months ago, I didn't know. I did have some knowledge of this university. So that's how we evolve, right? You learn based upon what you know, right? Nobody can start with 0, even for a child, right? So I've known a lot about this university, how the university protects itself against this, pandemic, how the community, the Quad Cities, the Macomb area, how people work together to prevent the disease from further spreading. Now, my job is to protect the university, students, faculty, staff, and all people who visit our campuses in both cities. So knowing that is reassuring. Knowing that I think humanity is stronger than anything else, right? The disease is not supposed to control us. We are supposed to control the disease. The technology is powerful, but it's not supposed to control us. We are supposed to control technology. With the medical technology, with the preparedness we have, we should be able to soon overcome the disease and move on with our lives. I do see the campus becoming more vibrant, more dynamic in the fall semester, 3 weeks out. 3 weeks from today, we'll be back on campus. I'm better prepared than ever before because I know where I have been and where I am going in terms of the university and our preparedness.
Let's talk about 2 key things that you know very well.
Yeah.
One is recruitment of students.
Right.
The second, of course, is retention of students.
Yeah.
Something that I'm sure is uppermost on your agenda of things to do.
Yeah.
What do you hope to do differently this coming year?
Yeah, so the different, if anything, I would say one word, new. So new market, new strategies, new approaches, right?
New audiences?
New audiences, of course.
So I mean, when I say that, are you thinking more, obviously keeping more Illinois students in, but are you thinking more Chicago or more international or more Midwest?
We have been thinking and doing Chicago for a long time, right?
Sure.
So the newness includes a lot of things: international market, out-of-state markets, online markets. We just hired a new director for online education, and already talking with him and the provost, we want to expand our online programs. That also means recruitment for online programs. So also international, online, in-state, out-of-state, they are all our audiences.
Do you fear you're late to the party? Because you know this is so competitive, not only for public universities, but private colleges as well.
Yeah, I'm not sure it's late or not. I think in this case, you either get on the bandwagon or you don't. So what are the choices? I think we have an opportunity to expand our online programs. I mean, fully online programs, degree programs, not just a course or two taught online. right? So right now we have just about 10, 11% online courses. I want to see fully developed online programs at the graduate and undergraduate level, both levels, taught by a faculty, our own faculty, and offered totally through an online modality. I think that represents a huge market. It's a matter of how we utilize that market.
Western, as well as the private and public sector, also looking at so many different ways of inclusion, diversity, unity. Critically important at this time. Hashtag whatever you want to add to word after that. How important is it in Western, and what new initiatives are you looking at?
It's very important because now what I'm doing is I recognize the diversity of our human population in this country. And you can look at other countries too, but they are very different. I've traveled to many countries, whether they are African, Asian, and some cultures are more diverse than others. Others are a lot more homogeneous, right? So now this country is very multicultural. Today, people would say, even say transcultural. A lot of different populations in terms of races, ethnicities, cultures, religions, and languages, lifestyle, you name it. Gender, and you name it. A lot of differences. We need to be respectful of those differences. We need to be equally respectful of the differences amongst the different groups. On the WIU campus, we have a pretty good size of minority population. It can be stronger and better. What we have, we want to value. I was saying that we need to protect everybody that's part of WIU. Respect their opinions, their skin color, their hair texture, the food they eat. Nobody is inferior to another human being, right? So one of my 6 priorities I brought to this campus is diversity, equity, and inclusiveness. We've been talking with Black Faculty Council, Black Students Association, and folks in town in both cities about diversity, how to make sure that students and faculty are well treated on our campuses. I say that because I do think it's very, very important for us to know that humanity is about the same thing. We pursue the same goals. In this case, education. We want every student to be educated, whether you are Black, Asian, Latina, or white. Everybody that wants an education should get an education that they deserve. Now, so to achieve that, we want to practice diversity, inclusiveness. Inclusiveness means a lot, right? It's everybody. It's everybody we need to be included in this process of education. I'm not a big Confucius fan, but I know him so well. He would say in his book, Analyze, you educate without discriminating categories. Whoever you are, my job is to educate you.
And does Western live up to that?
We try to. We really try to. I think education is a great equalizer. Education is the tool by which a human being can reasonably achieve the dream of a middle-class life for most people.
Dr. Guiyu Huang, president of Western Illinois University. Still ahead, we'll talk to the head of Western Illinois University's Board of Trustees for the ongoing effort to steer the university over the next few years. But first, here's Laura Adams with some great ideas for you, your friends, your family, everyone who wants to go out and about.
This is Out and About for August 13th through 19th. The Quad City Balloon Festival takes place August 13th and 14th at Rhythm City Casino in Davenport. Or get your tug on the Mississippi at Tug Fest in Port Byron and Leclerc. There's fireworks on Friday the 13th. Visit Jamaica My Weekend the 14th in downtown Rock Island, or celebrate the dog days of summer, literally, by bringing your four-legged friend to Riverside Family Aquatic Center in Moline for Doggy Dunk, August 15th starting at noon. Check out music at the Live at 5 free courtyard series at RME the 13th featuring The Dawn, while the A.V. Growls Band perform at Bass Street Landing the 19th at 7. Schwiebert Park is the location for music on the Thursday Night Groove at 7, and celebrate a special salsa night at Mercado on 5th the 13th beginning at 5. The Beach Boys mark more than a half-century of making music and will be at Rhythm City Casino the 15th, playing all of their hits. Or enjoy a free concert by Wicked Liz and the Belly Swirls in downtown Eldridge the 18th, beginning at 6. On stage, Saturday Night Fever continues on the Circa 21 stage, while the romantic comedy Outside Mullingar runs through the 15th at Richmond Hill Barn Theater in Geneseo. Plus, the Black Box Theater presents the psychological thriller Murder in Green Meadows August 19th through 28th. For more information, visit WQPT.org.
Thank you, Laura. We want to congratulate Quad City musician Mo Carter, who just had a baby boy who may someday become a charismatic troubadour, as she describes herself. We caught up with Mo Carter before the pandemic broke out, and she performed one of her originals at Moline's Black Box Theater. Here's Mo Carter with Hardware Store Man.
An old brick building displaying my name. Fades of time slowly moves out of frame. Things in life open, close, and bend. The final chapter's only one book in. I know sometimes there was just too much on your plate. You never said a word, you never complained. When you're a daughter of a hardware store man, fifth generation, were you part of the plan? When you're a daughter of a hardware store man, ever proud, you know this was my heartland.
That's Mo Carter with Hardware Store Man. And once again, we want to congratulate Mo and her family on the birth of her new baby boy, little Tolliver James. And who knows, in 18 years, he may be ready to enroll in Western Illinois University. But what will Western look like 2 decades from now? The Board of Trustees is in charge of plotting that future, and we sat down and talked with the trustees' president, Doug Shaw. Board of Trustees are starting a new year. What a year you've already gone through. We talked to the president in regards to the last 18, 19 months. Huge challenge for Western?
Definitely. I mean, I just look at the pandemic. I mean, obviously that's the biggest thing that everybody's looking at, and starting to see Delta variant. We're starting to see breakthrough cases. So I'm concerned that I know we had an excellent plan, and we were able to be on campus, and we executed well. I'm just concerned. I was concerned last year as well, and I'm optimistic, but I'm always concerned.
As the chairman of the Board of Trustees and the Board of Trustees, you're not necessarily looking at tomorrow or next month. You're looking at Western into the future.
That's true. That's true.
Well beyond. Is this pandemic almost a reset button? And I know that sounds weird, but I mean, people are looking at education differently. I would assume that the people responsible for the education system are looking at education differently too.
Well, we had a strategic plan, and we have to reassess. I mean, the targets that we set in the plan, are those still realistic? I would say a reset button, but it certainly is a factor. It is a very big factor.
You always have the students at the heart and soul of it.
Sure.
But the students are changing.
They are.
There are so many students who aren't even selecting a 4-year college. They want to get straight into the workforce. Yeah. They see the internet millions that can be made with a good idea and
true.
No schooling. How do you combat that?
You know what? I think you adapt. I'm in IT. Everything changes. I mean, you're an expert if you've been doing something for 6 months, and that's just the world that I live in. And I think we as a university need to be agile enough to adapt to the population that we're trying to serve, and that we're going to have to keep reassessing and reassessing and reassessing. So our strategic plan, we're going to have to keep correcting and adjusting as we go along.
Well, part of that plan was the selection of a new president.
True.
And it seems like it was so long ago, yet it was still this year, not this school year, but this year as well.
A long time, right?
What are the marching orders? What are you expecting in the short term?
Well, our strategic plan, that is our set of marching orders, and we've talked about the big things. We've talked about enrollment. We've talked about retention. We've talked about the right sizing. What is the faculty to student ratio for classes? We've talked about the things that will keep us afloat and would put us where we want to be. So, but again, those are numbers that we need to keep reassessing, and we will keep reassessing. So.
Is the key recruitment within the state before going outside the state? Because as you know, there's 2 things going on. A lot of Illinois kids are looking over at the border, seeing great deals in Wisconsin or Indiana, Iowa or Missouri. You're saying, no, don't do that. Then the second thing is the dwindling high school population in the first place.
Well, and that is part of that strategic plan reassessment. We need to keep redefining what WIU needs to be in order to be successful. And so we're talking about international, we're talking about online, we're talking about non-traditional students, we're talking about veterans, we're talking just what, we just need to keep probing the market and testing that market to see what it is we need to be in order to be successful. And that, and successful here and in Macomb. We need to keep reassessing.
What do you think it is? What do you think makes Western the best bet? I mean, if you were the recruiter, if you were out there saying, Johnny or Billy or Susie, you got to come to Western.
Well, I want to give you a high quality education and at a decent price. I want to give you, and that's what I want to deliver. And I want to sell you on our core programs. We need to double down on the things that we're successful at, improve in the areas where we can improve, and again, that's going to be based on the market. Those things can change. We just need to keep focused on the market.
What's the key to the Quad City campus? You've heard that, there's people that are worried that there's not a big commitment by Western, though we're in a beautiful building along the riverfront.
Right.
It's a jewel along River Drive. Right. It's such an important part of the economic drive for the Quad Cities that does not have a four-year public institution. Western knows that better than anything. What's the commitment to the Quad Cities?
I would say, if I could speak for the board, I would say we are committed to the Quad City campus, and we are, as an administration, committed. I think the commitment is there, and we need to study what the needs are for this particular market and deliver on those needs. So again, there's work being done along those lines, studying what needs to happen, and we need to deliver.
Well, as you know, this campus started almost as a gift from Deere & Company to try to train future engineers. It wasn't meant to be just an engineering school, but that was kind of the germ of the idea of this campus. Do you like the way that it has grown and prospered and bloomed in other areas? It has found niches that have really helped students, the non-traditional, as you even said, the veterans, the non-traditional students in the Quad City area?
Definitely, and I was impressed to see PhD graduates at graduation this past term. So yes, I am impressed by the offerings in the Quad Cities campus. I need to be here more and I need to learn more about it, but yes, definitely.
We've talked a lot about inclusion and diversity. Right. How important is that? Like you said, you're from Chicago.
Right.
Macomb and the Quad Cities, about as far from Chicago to the west as you can get.
This is true. This is true.
How important is diversity, and how do you achieve that in a community like Macomb or Moline?
During the presentations today at the retreat, I wrote down two words that stuck in my mind. Those words were appreciated and protected. Our job as a board and as a campus community are not done unless all of our students feel appreciated and protected. And President Huang mentioned all of the different categories and constituencies that we have. Everybody needs to feel appreciated and protected.
One last area, and you know it's coming, is that the Board of Trustees agreed to split ways with Dr. Thomas to finally put an end to a chapter with a $900,000 settlement. There's students that are just scraping to get by to pay for tuition. What do you say to those students?
First of all, I understand. I've been in your shoes. I was a student. I got to Macomb in 1989. I was deployed. I understand that life for Desert Storm. I came back. So I understand that struggle. But as a board member, I have to look out for the best interests and control costs and control risk. And, from the set of options that we had, I believe we chose the best option. And I wish I could talk more about that, but that we are bound confidentiality. So.
And it was interesting also, or somewhat upsetting, I would say, when Trustee Aguilar had mentioned the racism aspect, and that there were actually threats against Dr. Thomas.
Sure.
That's disturbing. Right. And when you're talking about recruiting new students to Western, does that make your job harder?
It does. It does. And that is one of the reasons why I wanted to turn the page in the relationship and move on. We need to focus on the future. We need to focus on serving our students and our community. And we need to turn the page on on this chapter. We need to turn the page on it. And yes, it does make our jobs harder when we're getting press on those types of things.
Western Illinois University Board of Trustees President Doug Shaw. On the air, on the radio, on the web, on your mobile device, and streaming on your computer. Thanks for taking some time to join us as we talk about the issues on the cities.
Whelan Presley Funeral Home and Crematory, a proud supporter of WQPT, has been serving Quad City families since 1889. They now have live stream capabilities for viewing your loved one's funeral or memorial service.
At IHM VCU, we've always been here for you. You are and always will be our top priority. We care about your financial and physical health, and we are here. IHM VCU is a proud supporter of WQPT.